Welcome to the Pathways to Prosperity podcast, where we explore personal, professional, and financial success stories of top achievers. Let's dive in.
Hey guys, welcome to Pathways to Prosperity for Entrepreneurs, the show where we spotlight innovators driving meaningful challenge, and I'm your host, Tristan Fulham. Today, our guest is Kevin Schafheimer, assistant engineer and owner of Stanler, a growing IT consulting company. He helps all businesses not only fix tech headaches, he also builds smarter systems for them. As we dive into this journey and see what it's like in the company IT space. So we'll see how it is and how everything works behind the scenes. So, hey, Kevin, you don't mind me asking, like, how is this snapshot and kind of give us what the business is like?
So we work with companies, sometimes even individuals, right? Come in and look at manual processes or struggles they're having, something new they're trying to bring in or need to do, customers, etc. And then architect, help them decide hardware, software, help them develop stuff if need be, help them pick, staffing to meet that role. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell what we do. And then we bring in teams for whatever is needed for that role. So we have
Okay.
people that are specialized in networking, which is not my strongest side, systems people, programmers, you name it. So
All right. So you don't mind me asking, I know before we talked, and I know that you're out there in Florida. So, like, how did you, like, kind of get into the space? I mean, I know tech is becoming a big thing, but, like, how did this kind of land in your lap? I mean, being an owner of a business is hard, trying to juggle everything, like we talked earlier about the miscommunication or people not having that urgency. So how did that kind of get you in that space?
yeah, so I've kind of always been doing this. So when I was a little kid, just taking stuff apart, tinkering in it, I loved technology, right? I don't want to say how old I am, but I came up where technology. I mean, I was born there. Internet was still kind of a new thing, right? And so that just grew, right? And then as growing up, went to school, uh, got some formal education in it, and then went to work in the workforce, right? And my first job, I was making practically nothing, and I just would, I mean, seriously, just kill myself trying to get there, right? And over time, I was able to learn, get the experience, to then be able to transition that into side work, and then eventually into my own business. So.
Okay. So I know you're saying that you work with specific people. Like, what are those specific offices? I mean, specific companies you work with. I know you were saying that earlier, and I kind of want the viewers to see.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily know if I have permission to share names of the companies we do, but some of them are TPAs for healthcare, right? To do third-party administration or uh, pharmacy benefits management, doctors' offices, attorneys. Trying to think of like current stuff that's going on right now. HOAs, like we've come in and done stuff for HOAs where we've built streamlined processes for taking, payments for the association, right? Setting up architecture designs. Yeah, I mean that's something we're doing currently right now for a new smaller community, right? They
Okay.
are starting out, they're taking over from the builder, and they were like, well, we can go and hire some of these big name companies out there for X dollar, right? And
Yeah.
then I was like, well, let's sit down and talk. What can we do that prevents you from going over there? You guys can run this. It's only 16 homes in this community. Let's build this out ourselves, right? And we were able to do that for really long term, right? Return on investment for them is a quarter of what they were going to spend over like a 5-year plan. So it's stuff like that, and that's what really gets me excited about this. Is of course saving people money, right?
Yeah.
That's what everybody wants to do, right? How can I do this as cheap as possible? But I really like taking, and I don't want to sound super, overzealous with this or and super crazy smart at doing this, but I like taking these challenging things that people think are really out of their ability, right? And do it for them, right? And help them do it, right? Sometimes we just take it over and do it. Sometimes we come in and assist, and we can take on this role. You guys can do this. And we help them get through that process. That's the architect side of it. And I really love that. I really feed on taking them from, yeah, I don't think this is possible. Let's go hire this big company to do it, to you can do it yourself. So
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it sounds like more education than anything. It's like really educating them to really understand, hey, you don't have to do this. You don't have to spend X amount of money for this load.
Yeah.
And be knowledgeable, taking up that time to really understand a company, have that intimacy, really something that a lot of companies, especially when they're smaller, they get kind of scared, right? Because they're like, oh, I need to have a big name. But when you come in there, like you said, you help them with their ROI. You help them with understanding what they actually need versus what they want to spend. So
Right.
I really like that fact. I really like that you're really educating them in that aspect. So there's
Yeah.
like compensation.
I no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. No, I was to say like so. There's a lot of competition in your space. Like, what do you think sets you apart from the other companies that are around you?
Um, I don't know. I don't want to say bad things about other companies, right?
Oh,
I think that honesty, right? Going in there and showing them that, yeah, I could probably tell them, why don't you buy this, right? I make some money off of it. I make money off their long term like this. But I go in there and I'm like, well, maybe don't spend this money on this. We'll do it a little cheaper over here. I think people really respect that. And
mm,
I'm pretty sure, at least for me, I think it's gotten me a lot more word of mouth business, from one customer to a
mm,
next. I would say maybe half of our customers I've gotten from the last customer, right? It's the word of mouth sort of kind of thing,
okay.
right? And I think that they know that they can trust me. I'm always going to be able to be available for them, even though I'm a small shop, right? I do. Most of these people know my personal phone number and they use it. So, and they use it a lot. So I think that kind of sets me aside, right? Because if you call, a big company out, throw out like CDW or something like that, they can offer consultation and they can give you the hardware and everything, and then sometimes they can probably do it faster than I can. They have more people, right? But
Mm,
try to get a hold of them on a Saturday afternoon when something's going sideways and you need to get a hardware replacement. It's like and that's just what they are, right? Because they can't afford to pay these guys an absorbent support rate to get that done, right? Or being a smaller guy, knowing that what their operations are like, it's a lot easier for me to be able to provide that.
right. No, no, I like the fact that it's like that, like you said, that intimacy, being able to be honest with them, transparency, something like I said, like a lot of companies aren't really used to, and so it's like when you start a business, you're always scared. You're like, I don't like who do I trust? Like, what do I do? Like
Yeah,
word of mouth. So it's something that like you sound like you capitalize on. I really like that. I really like that.
I tried to. Yeah, and I love a side point there. That's one of the things I would love to do in the future, which is really help somebody who has these great ideas, right? And
Hmm.
help them start a business, right? Because I mean,
Okay.
if you're a small guy, and I know big companies get to go to angel investors like that, and get these, cool technology startup. But a lot of people have some good ideas that can make them some, and they just don't know the steps to do it. So, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hard, right? You're like, like I have this great idea. Like I had one that was a long time ago, and I knew it was gonna be big. And then next thing you know, Europe does the same thing. And I was thinking it was like charging your car using a road along like a strip of road to charge your
yeah,
car.
induction
Like you're,
charging, yeah.
yeah, I was like thinking to myself, I thought about that when Tesla first came out. I was like, that'll be great. Next thing you know, it happens like a few years later, and I was like, if I would have known the steps, I think it would have been. I wouldn't be here. I probably would still be here, but but so, what are some of the biggest challenges that you think you've had to overcome, and how are they help you to understand your growths and strengths?
Um, I mean, I guess like as far as struggles I had. I mean, going back all the way to being in school, I suffered from being dyslexic and having some learning disabilities, right? So that was a struggle getting there, and then basically starting this with nothing, right? I didn't know how to incorporate a business. I didn't have the money, the backing to go and do this, right? This was,
Mhm.
hey, I worked my full-time job during the daytime, and then I would leave straight from work and go to the customer's, site and work there until whatever, right? Be back
Mhm.
there Saturday and Sunday. So that, I'm not at all upset about it, right? I'm not complaining about it at all, but those were definitely struggles. Just how are they going to fund? They expected me to go buy this stuff
Exactly, no,
and
right?
and have it there, right? And I was like, yeah, no problem, I'll get that for you. So there was a lot of BSing in there in the beginning, and then okay, which credit card can I use to pay for this stuff before they reimburse me for it, right? So
Exactly, exactly.
yeah, that was the real thing. And then I'm really confident in myself when it comes to technology. And you know, you come into me and saying, "Hey, Kevin, how do I do this? Or what's the best way for me?" I can talk to you all day long. I'm not the pushy, door salesman with his foot in your door, not letting you, So that was a struggle for me, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm not that guy to just walk into a business and be like, let me help you, right? I can, but it's not my strong suit, right?
Okay.
So that was a struggle in the beginning too. Um, I think I've overcome that quite a bit now, but in
Hmm.
the beginning it was a definite struggle. So
Okay. Well, I mean, that's good that you're overcoming those struggles, right? I mean, do you feel like that the person you were when you first started versus now, do you feel like those are the same people? Like, what have you learned from that? You feel?
oh, I've learned so much. I've learned so much. I mean, one, I underestimated, and I guess a little bit, right? You always like undercut yourself a little bit in the beginning to get the advantage, right? You sell something in a loss to get them in the door, and then you hit them up. I underestimated myself and what I was charging people for a long time, and kind of learning your self worth or self value, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm bringing the same thing that another big company could bring. I was doing it cheaper, and I still do, right? I still do it at a competitive
Yeah.
rate,
Yeah.
right? But it's one of those things where I was probably way undercutting myself,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And so now I would never do that to myself. I learned my lesson. Um, and just generally how to talk to people and what they need to hear. And I don't mean that in a sales tactic, but what they need to hear to feel comfortable to continue that conversation, right? To know
Right.
you're not just being, hey, I'm here to sell you another, useless software that you probably won't use in 6 months, or it's not going to complete doing what you want, right?
Hmm.
I'm not the pushy door salesman with his foot in the door, but I think I've come to the point where I can communicate it, take the technology language and put it into plain English and help them
Yeah.
understand it and make them feel comfortable. So
Okay. No, I mean that's like you said, like you're now understanding your values, you're understanding like what you're worth and like how much your time is really valued. And I feel like that, it's there. I was listening to something. I think it was like a podcast. He was saying that there's no more you help me, I help you. He said, I'll help myself and then I will show you the knowledge.
yeah,
Right. So that's essentially
I
what you're
like that.
doing. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
if I'm doing great, then we both can do great because I can share you the knowledge, but I'm not relying on you. So I'm able to really bring that to, and that's my value I'm bringing. So it's something that like a lot of people need to like kind of understand. It's really hard, especially during this era where we're seeing people who are saying that you can make crazy amount of money when they're really not really making that money. So it's like your self worth is down, and then you look at other companies who took decades, and now you're like a smaller business and learning what your worth is. So it's really hard. It's really hard to really find that inner person.
it
But
is. I mean, it's going to be brave. I don't want to. It sounds kind of cheesy, but because
yeah,
you're risking. I remember the first time I did it was, wow. Okay, I know this job is worth X dollars, right?
yeah,
But I'm really afraid because they know I'm not a big company. If I try to ask them for this fair and be a fair amount, right? Wasn't
yeah.
they're gonna say, why am I gonna pay you that? I'll just go to this big guy over here and they'll probably do it for the same amount of money. And I just did it when I was like, you know what? It is what it is. I'm gonna do it. And they said, yeah, no, that sounds like a fair price. Let's move forward. And I was like, oh, I can do that. So yeah, it was very much, yeah. So
No, that's good though. I mean, like you gotta take those steps. You gotta take like, hey, either it's a Hail Mary, and that's a point of business, right? It's like you hit those bumps, you hit those roads, and then you're like, you know what? I know my worth. Not
yeah.
like that. I like that you're taking that step. I really, it sounds. I can hear like the tone in your voice, the bass in your voice. I really love it.
Yeah, it was. It was one of those moments. It was just like, all right, so they will, right? And you try to put it together, like, and then you almost want to kick yourself. You're like, I could have been doing this the whole time, like, So, but yeah, so now I know.
So as we talk about your personal growth and planning, it's really interesting how people like you, smaller businesses, and successful individuals plan beyond. So I know we talked about this early in the podcast and before the podcast, and I know you said you have someone who helps you, but how do you apply this in like your own personal investment? Like you yourself, not only financially, but also just like kind of like yourself, right? How you carry yourself?
Yeah, I mean, so when I think about how I'm preparing myself for the future for my business, right? n- Not so much on the financial side, but it's one, surrounding myself with people that are like-minded, right?
Mhm.
Um, and people have the same goal. I guess it's sort of the same thing, right? But there
Mhm.
is it's like-minded in the sense, my wife is behind me, my family's behind me. Like, hey, we want you to be successful, right? But then having the other technical people in the room to help me through these things, right? Um, and just really keeping up with technology. Technology moves really fast. Um, and sometimes somebody says something to me, and I'm just like, I don't even know what the hell that is. I don't even know what that is. And then, I'm over here. Oh, okay, you're using different terminology, but it's really this. And then I'm like, okay, all right, I can now talk, about this. So it's really keeping up with technology, keeping myself surrounded by people that are also doing the same thing. Obviously, family support, studying. I know that sounds crazy, but I do an awful lot of, reading articles about stuff and studying and building labs still. I still have that as a goal that I try to do so much, a quarter or a year or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, for the business, man, I probably shouldn't say this. I don't do a whole lot of financial planning for the business, right? Things have just kind of gone, right?
Mhm.
I have an accountant that tells me not to do stupid stuff. And then I have a financial guy who says don't do stupid stuff and puts me in the right direction or points me in the right direction or just does it for me uh,
Okay.
to keep me going. So from both, the mental and the financial.
Yeah, I mean it's hard though, right? It's like it's like that financial advisor is like you, right? You're saying, oh, hey, this is what you need to do. This is something that you shouldn't do, or X, Y, and Z. No, it's all good, man. I mean, it's really hard to. Like, I'm not an expert in financial stuff, so I mean, my business is in something else. I'm more expert in that, so it's really hard to really look forward or look towards other people when you're not an expert, right? Because you're jumping in hasty waters. You're like, I don't know what to do. Here I am. Here's what we're gonna do, and kind of go from there. So I know it's a trust me, man. It's a learning curve for anyone to try to get into another space when they're when they're focused on one thing. So yeah,
Yeah,
man.
I wish I did know more about it. I mean, it'd be, you know, beyond
But
the general knowledge that almost everybody has. But yeah.
yeah, yeah. But as we're wrapping up this interview, man, what exciting plans do you have the next few weeks or next 6 to 12 months?
Oh, hopefully just keep growing. I mean, honestly, that's every day I get up and it's like, okay, what's the next thing? I try to find something to look forward to, right, to keep me motivated.
Hmm.
Um, that really helps with that. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I take it day by day, um, trying to line up more business and just keep it rolling. I know that's probably not a very exciting answer, but that's the real answer is just keep it going.
Well, the thing is, like, I'd rather it be honest and real than fluffy. Like you have to understand like where you are and then make those adjustments, make those things. Because if you understand where you are versus just boasting about like being crazy huge or XYZ, then what happens is it can catch up to you. So you'd rather be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah, right?
absolutely. Yeah, trying to yeah, because got to fill those shoes so they don't let them get too big.
No, I got you, man. Well, thank you so much for your time and sharing your insights and tips about your company, man. If people want to connect to you throughout our podcast or our channel, like where should they go connect to you through?
Yeah, they can visit us online, stanler.com, Stanler.com. They give us a call at 833 Stanler.
Okay, cool. All right, man. Well, thank you very much. What we'll do is we'll go from there, and I hope you have a great day, man.
Man, thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks for listening to the Pathways to Prosperity podcast. Got a success story to share? Visit pathwaystoprosperitypodcast.com/guest and apply today.